Thank you, Brandon. You finally did something good. The one accomplishment of this administration is exactly what I thought it would be. And honestly, it's a fairly big accomplishment. You have to give credit where it's due. And that is that Biden himself has built up the strongest opposition to him because he's been so downright awful that the Republicans now lead in party affiliation according to Gallup. This never happens, but they lead in party ID, a massive shift from last year by 14. We're going to get into this, but anyways, guys, welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Like this video down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And we're going to talk about this because this is a massive development. It kind of went a little bit under the radar. So I wanted to bring it to light a little bit and talk about the fact that this is good news for 2022 if this continues, and talk about why is this the case? Why are so many people switching? And obviously one of those reasons is because people want to be on the winning team. A lot of independents always just want to be on the winning team, these undecided voters. That's part of it, but there's a lot more too. And we're going to get into it all. But first, I have to tell you guys about my very good friends over at My Patriot Supply. So the time to prepare for bad times is during good times. If you know a big storm is coming, you prepare in advance, and the same thing goes for our nation's future. Right now would be the perfect time to prepare for the next big crisis. That's why I recommend stocking up on emergency food from My Patriot Supply. They're America's #1 preparedness company with millions of happy, well-prepared customers. Their food lasts for up to 25 years in storage. It's an insurance policy that you can eat, and when you need it, it will be there. And right now, you could save $50 on a 4-week emergency food kit that provides breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. Every family in America should have one of these packages, so go to preparewithredeagle.com and save $50 on your 4-week kit. That's preparewithredeagle.com. Do it before the bad happens. Again, preparewithredeagle.com. So let's get into this article. Gallup. Party preference shifted greatly during 2021. So it started off in Q1. You saw Democrats, just as they did in 2020, according to Gallup, they held a sizable gap. And we understand that this typically is the case. Typically, there are more Democrats than Republicans, but independents typically lean more to the right than to the left. Very few pure independents actually exist in this country. I'm technically an independent. I'm not registered with a party. If I lived in a state where you had closed primaries, I would register as a Republican so I could vote in them. But they don't do that in Texas. They didn't do that in Michigan. So I don't really see a point in being registered. But you see a massive shift. After the attack on la democracy, the attack on the insurrection, or whatever you want to call it, apparently, you would think Democrats would gain massive support. Most popular president in history, Joe Biden. Really? Is that the case? They claimed it was. However, things have changed. The media hysteria bounced off. It's not working. It's not working at all. And there's no signs of it slowing down. You saw, obviously, inflation, Afghanistan, border crisis. All of these things have contributed to this, absolutely. But Biden is doing absolutely nothing to stop the bleeding. He passed some garbage third-rate pork-filled infrastructure bill, which most of it was not for quote-unquote infrastructure. And even then, it wasn't able to save his approval rating whatsoever. And this is the largest lead for the Republicans since 1991, which is the downfall of the Soviet Union. So there's the strongest energy behind the right that we've seen since 1991, which was 31 years ago. Literally, that is how strong the energy is, especially because the country has changed so much. We've had, changing demography, educational trends working against the Republican Party for the past 30 years. But still, the party ID advantage that they have is literally the same as it was in 1991. So that should tell you everything about how bad that Joe Biden is messing everything up in this country today. I mean, it is absolutely just insane. And even from last year, Q3, Republicans were at a disadvantage. They narrowed the gap, but it's a disadvantage. Now they're up by 5. So if this continues and they hold a 5 to 10 point lead in just party ID, obviously the midterms Republicans are mostly going to vote Republican. Democrats mostly going to vote Democrat, 98% plus, because this is party ID, not necessarily even party registration. And when you understand that, you also understand the fact that Republicans are probably going to be in for an R+8, R+10 wave if this is true. Obviously, Gallup, it's just one poll, but this has been one of the gold standards for identifying the party ID of a nation at any given time, and it continues. So I wanted to talk about, why is this the case? Why are these voters switching over from Democrat to Republican? And the answer is pretty obvious here. The answer is the fact that Biden had the advantage on several issues in the 2020 election that he does not hold the advantage of at this point. Now we could look at this. Pew Research did a list of certain issues that were a top issue for voters. Okay. Now, the differences between then and now is that I wanted to kind of condense it because issues kind of have changed, but there's 4 main issues, and I actually condensed this into a method called the FESH method: foreign policy, economy, security, and health. Health really pertaining to health of the nation in more ways than one. So foreign policy. Let's talk about foreign policy. Joe Biden's foreign policy. What has it been? It's to, keep a decent level of intervention overseas. And the one time where he actually pulls troops out, he pulled troops out of Afghanistan, he botches the operation completely, leaves military equipment over there that belonged to us, left dozens of Americans over there, many of whom actually died. It's absolutely a disaster what happened. And even though people are glad that we got out of there, Biden doesn't really get any extra points for that, especially given the fact that Donald Trump was planning on withdrawing this year at a slightly later date, or last year, I should say, in 2021, at a slightly later date than Biden actually did the withdrawal. But the notion that that would give Biden a leg up with voters is just untrue. That's one of the reasons why his approval rating dipped, but it's not the only reason why. But it definitely had a lot of people angry at him and kind of united some of the more, neocons on the right with the paleocons on the right. And obviously, we need to still gatekeep the neocons on the right. But I mean, honestly, if the voter base is going to be angry at Biden because of this, and we put up the good candidates, they're not going to be voting Democrat in the midterms. So I kind of see it as a victory there on the electoral front. So economy. We haven't seen much from Biden necessarily when it comes to the issue of trade. But you talk about inflation and the employment situation. Biden is saying we see record job growth, and that's because we're still slowly opening up. So you're going to see jobs numbers. But even then, he usually underperforms the job numbers. Trump was overperforming the projected job numbers consistently throughout his presidency, especially there towards the end as you saw a little bit of an open up. But Biden, just seeing that continue, of course you're going to add jobs, but he'll be like, wages are up too. That's not true. Inflation, that's the big thing. They're not even close to keeping up with inflation, Joe. We know this. Look at inflation. It's out of control. Look at your gas prices. Go to the grocery store. Go try to live on, for one person, $200 a month worth of groceries or whatever. You can't do that anymore. It's out of control. People are fed up. And this issue affects everybody. It affects Republicans. It affects Democrats, independents. I mean, the only people that this doesn't affect are the wealthy elitists who were backing Biden up anyways, and they're, doing his propaganda for him. Oh, gas prices went up 2 cents this month. Oh, let me show this graph on Twitter showing gas prices are through the roof, even though you zoom in and you see where the propaganda lies. It's ridiculous, but we're not really getting fooled by that. So the economy's really hurting him. I think that's arguably the biggest issue for a lot of people. Security, immigration, the border crisis in and of itself is just awful. We talk about the Second Amendment. I know that's a wedge issue, but when you have a lot of angry, gun-owning Republicans and right-leaning independents fed up, it's definitely not going to help you in the midterms if you are the Democratic Party. Obviously, we understand that at this point. Also, leadership. Do people really feel secure with Joe Biden at the helm? Absolutely not. And I think a lot of people would even feel less secure with Kamala Harris at the helm, believe it or not. And you're looking at all of these issues, and it just kind of shows you the whole fake moderate vote for me because I'm not Blump thing is just like collapsing. It's falling apart. Health of the nation, COVID, we saw more deaths in 2021 than we saw in 2020. I mean, it's out of control when you talk about, oh, we added all of these other preventative measures, quote unquote, that aren't really serving as preventative measures when you look at the data. Biden just looks like a total failure, especially because he was out there saying, we're going to shut it down. We're going to shut it down. Now he's taking a more like, we're going to give it back to the states approach than Trump was because he understands that there's actually no solution for it. And either way, it makes him look like a snake oil salesman. So crime through the roof, murder rate through the roof. Still, we're seeing, early 1990s level crime wave. Literally, if you run 2016 Trump in 2024, he would win by like 20 points, honestly, even with the media backlash, which is really something. We need to get Trump back. I like the rally in Arizona. If he can keep it up like that, but like bring the fire, bring the energy, drink some Red Bull, drink some Mountain Dew, get out there. It's gonna be epic. Bring back the subtle, angry growl in his voice. I'm telling you, the sky is the limit. So healthcare, that's kind of a thing that's gonna hurt him from the far left. The far left, give me healthcare. Yeah, you're not gonna see that. You're not gonna see any major healthcare reform under Joe Biden, literally, just like you didn't see any under Trump. So everybody loses on all these issues for Biden. There's nothing he's winning on. There's nothing. Oh, he passed the Build Back Better bill or whatever earlier in the year. Yeah, how did that turn out? That's part of what's causing the inflation crisis. So no accomplishments for Biden. He's arguably one of the worst presidents in American history. And as a result, you're seeing Republicans with a ridiculous party ID advantage that's only going to grow from here. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.